My name's Arlene Cevela. My title was an instructor. And we didn't have many titles back then.
Well, I'm Denice Davis, and I had several roles here. I started as a student in 1975. I was in the second nursing class that graduated, and Arlene Cevela was one of my instructors, nursing instructors. And then probably I went, after I graduated, went to work, and then I came back as a part-time skills lab instructor in the old basement of the old Hot Springs High School. And that's where the skills lab was. And then I went away again and got 2 more degrees, came back as a nursing faculty of the RN program, and stayed for 26 years. And the last few years was as RN nursing program director. And then now I have the honor of serving on the Foundation Board of Governors. So I've had a varied association with the old Garland County Community College and now National Park College.
So you kind of touched on it, Denice, but maybe you can too, Arlene. Tell us about your connection to the college and how your journey began here.
Well, my journey began, I was an instructor at the LPN school at the old Washita Hospital. And when the college came in, they took over the LPN school. And the college run it the first year while they were getting started. So we were one of the first hires to work there. I was a diploma nurse and didn't have a degree. So I got 2 degrees after that. I'm like Denice, I had to get my bachelor's degree. Then I went on to UCA and got my master's degree. All the time working full time.
Well, when I graduated high school, I enrolled at University of Arkansas at Little Rock. And it was interesting because the advisors there looked at being a student was something I was really good at. So they looked at test scores and stuff, and I ended up and found myself as a pre-med major at UALR. And I spent a semester there and decided that I didn't really want to be a doctor. I wanted to be a nurse. And knowing the college had opened up a nursing program, and I lived here, I transferred the following semester to Garland County Community College and proceeded on there. And that's where the journey started.
What do you guys think sets this college's campus apart from other colleges?
You know, if I could sum it up in a couple of words, it'd be quality, and it would be caring. And because National Park College is small enough, there's a real opportunity for students to build productive relationships with instructors and faculty. And I think that really adds to their success, student success in that educational journey.
Well, I think it was very needed in this community.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't have any nurses. We didn't have any nurses. And I'm from a diploma program, and I spent 10 years at St. Joe as a nurse. And when I took that job, I knew how to do it, but I wasn't sure about how to teach it. So it was convenience for people in this community to be able to get an education.
What changes have you guys witnessed over your time here?
Oh my gosh. We started at a car, hauling around overhead projectors now, mind you. And our test was run off on a mimeograph. And everything was in your back seat or your trunk. And I had classes at the Boys Club, at, what's that school, Old Langston School out on Silver Street.
There was, some school on Silver Street.
And I don't know where else I had.
First United Methodist Church. Yeah. I remember taking a chemistry final in the sanctuary of First United Methodist Church.
So, it's grown so much. So we moved from Market Street to Charlotte Phelps, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
And we were there for a while. And then we moved again to this building. Thank goodness for that guy that donated this building for nursing.
Mr. Fred Dirks.
So it's been a trip.
I remember going to class the first semester all over town, literally, as she mentioned. You know, it was challenging to know where class was going to be.
I got up and looked at my schedule, and I think, well, which church am I going to today?
That was kind of me too as a student. But it did teach flexibility. It did teach the ability to kind of get with the program here and do what you needed to do, which, as I think back on nursing, is probably a pretty good skill to learn. Because you just can't predict the shift, you can't predict the day, and you think you've got things planned out, and all of a sudden there's a monkey wrench thrown in it, and you've got to shift pretty quickly and set your priorities. So I think, you know, education can take many forms.
Well, I think nursing's all about change anyway.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You know, it's about change.
And as nursing, even once we became nurses, continuing education was mandatory because of the tremendous changes in healthcare that we were used to change and having to shift gears.
So from you guys' perspective, how has the student experience changed here and what remains the same?
Well, that's a hard one for me because I've been out of it 12 years. And so has she.
Mm-hmm. We retired together. That's another link between us.
Yes.
We retired together.
Had our party together.
Yes, we did. When I decided, and as RN nursing program director, and I'll get to your question in a minute, I had to make the decision and tell them a year in advance because I was a program director. And one of the first people besides Linda Castaldi, who was division chair, I went in Arlene's office and I said, Arlene, I'm going to retire at the end of my contract, which ran through June. And by golly, Arlene said, I'm going with you. We'll go together. And we did.
We did.
We did.
Well, that's when my walking was becoming worse, and it was hard for me to go to the hospital and keep up with the nursing students. So I thought I put in my 38 years here.
To get back to your question, I think it's more of a college student experience now with athletics, with the dorms. I think there's probably a multitude of clubs to become involved in. I hope the class sizes are still small. And I think basically, in general, they are. I think that lends so much to the educational experience. I think caring is still a factor here. That's kind of the things that just kind of pop into my head.
Yeah, younger is the thing now. And thank goodness, because we're going to need them. And I always told them, you may have to take care of me one of these days. And that's happened. I've had all our graduates taking care of me in the hospital, which is very rewarding.
I think that's one of the important factors that I hope people are aware of. So many graduates in whatever field, you know, not just nursing, but I have a sense, especially in healthcare, that our graduates many times stay in the region and they provide care for you and I. And so I think this college makes such an impact on the local economy.
So, Denice, you were a student here. So what was it like to be a student at this college?
It was a little more like home. Now, it was strange traveling all over the city, going to class and clinicals and that sort of thing. But the classes were smaller. You know, at UALR, I had like 450 in my Western Civ class. It was in an auditorium, okay? The classes were small. You were able to build relationships with your peers because you were in it together, literally. You were able to, the relationships with instructors were purely professional. And one of the funniest things that we spent time trying to figure out, we would go to clinical. And these nursing instructors, Arlene Cevela included, Charlotte Phelps, Suzanne Bowden, they would show up in these white starched uniforms. There wasn't a crease or a wrinkle. We spent our time trying to figure out how they actually drove there without wrinkling their uniforms. And Charlotte used to have cufflinks.
Yes, she did.
In her uniform, okay? Nursing cufflinks. And the white starched hats with the black stripes.
But to me, that was the image of nursing. That's what I was taught, a white uniform, a white hat, white shoes, and your shoes better be polished.
That's right. But they were really positive role models. They demanded a lot, and because of that, we delivered a lot.
From y'all's time here, was there any faculty or staff member in particular that really had a big impact on you that you'd like to talk about some?
Well, I'm sitting next to her.
Well, my friend, Suzanne Bowden, I don't want y'all to forget her either and send her an invitation. Well, Suzanne and I, when we first started, all we taught was in the LPN school. And we didn't know about objectives and all this other test construction and all that. We go up to our rooms and have a meeting. Suzanne said, "Do you know what they're talking about?" And I said, "No." "No, I don't know, but we're going to find out." So we muddled through and learned how to do tests and learned how to do everything. And we were support for each other.
What about for you, Denise?
Well, obviously Arlene, Suzanne Bowden, and Charlotte Phelps. I was very lucky in that I was able to identify and kind of take on the best in a lot of people. Charlotte was definitely a role model.
Yes.
Suzanne, who, again, with Arlene, probably polished my clinical skills a great deal, more than Charlotte even. Arlene was the lieutenant colonel in the Army. And those are the people, Linda Castaldi. I think about her, and when I was a student, she was here as a baby new graduate nurse.
Like
she looked like she was 16, but yet she had her own presence in her own way. Mm-hmm. It was sometimes a little softer, and she didn't have Arlene's known for her one eyebrow going up when you kind of know you're not on good ground. The eyebrow goes up, and it's like, oh, the eyebrow went up.
Just stop what you're doing.
Yeah, just stop.
Think about it.
Think about
before
it.
you do it. In a patient's room, I didn't say anything to the patient.
No, but the eyebrow would go up.
But I know. So, yeah. Like this, and that meant stop.
Stop.
Think about it.
And then there were other faculty on campus, too. Probably more so as a colleague when I was on faculty here, but Dr. Ken Cook and Dr. Van Davis. And they weren't always known for their personable personalities, but for some reason, I could appreciate that.
Yeah, I did too.
And they were the people that I asked frequently to do my classroom evaluations, my peer-to-peer evaluations, because they would come.
Yeah, they were both fine people.
Uh-huh. And because we would team teach, there would be 4 other nursing instructors in the classroom with us as we taught. So my peers in nursing were always kind of around. So I usually would pick other folks from across campus that weren't nurses because they were evaluating me on teaching, So I think as we talk, you're probably picking up on the ties, not just among the faculty, but to the community at large, that we as faculty and students and probably administrators, just as part of the community of this region.
What do you hope to see for the future of NPC students?
Continue to make good nurses. The community's always going to need them. There's going to be disasters coming that we don't know about. You have to be prepared.
I think we saw that with COVID.
Yes.
I want to see continued student success, not just in their academic careers here, but also success as they either stay in this community or go out across the state or the nation or whatever. And we do have some alumni that are very well known and very successful in their own careers across the country. I want to see a continued excellent reputation of the college across the state and the region. I want to see faculty that care for each other and administrators. I think the college has been very responsive to the economic and educational needs of this area, and I want to see that continue.
What is your earliest memory of the college?
Walking into a classroom of 109 nursing students, that was my first shock. I was in literal shock. I thought, what do we do with all these people?
How many were you used to in the LPN classes?
25.
Okay. Well, that explains it.
And 2 instructors. I didn't teach OB. And when I hired somebody, I said, you got to teach OB or I'm not hiring you. And that was Suzanne. She did it for me. Suzanne was very adjustable. She was in the military. And matter of fact, while she was there, she had to go to Kuwait. Mm-hmm. So we had to do without her a while. Mm-hmm. But yes, when we first got an office, we felt like we were alone. Not just our car, but we had an office to go to and a place to meet. And that was there on Market Street.
My first memory was going to the office, and the offices, you understand, were in an old boarding house on Market Street. And I went there for my interview with Georgia Buchanan, who was the first director of the program. And that's my first memory. And it was an old red brick building with a porch and a porch swing.
So what can you tell us about the beginnings of the college? How did it come to be? What can you remember about how it just all started?
Well, I think Dr. Fisher had a lot to do with that. I think he campaigned. He was well known, knew a lot of people, and I think he kept on till they got it on a ballot. And it was voted on and passed in 73. And as soon as it passed, we opened
the door somewhere.
We opened the door somewhere. So it just took a lot of ingenuity, I think, on his part to get it on the ballot and get it there soon enough so that we could open. And we started with classes from history and sociology and everything that year. Well, they had to have all those courses in nursing. So they had to start. And that's when Jim and Linda came, and Dr. Nairmore and Dr. Davis, and all those came.
So, Arlene, I have to ask this question. What does it feel like for you to be sitting in the Cevela room?
Feels good. It feels good to be here.
Did you pay this much attention to the feeling of the room when you were still on faculty and coming in here for team meetings?
No, that was my picture on the wall. That was it.
Yeah. But I think it has more meaning
and
now.
I couldn't figure out why just me was up there. And it does say the Cevela room, and my kids are proud of that. My sons and my grandchildren. So I feel like I've done my due in nursing. I was tough, and I know it, and I don't care. We put out some good nurses. I'd let any of them take care of me now.
Congratulations, National Park College, on your 50th anniversary.